Jesus and his friends were walking through town. Everybody wanted to talk to Jesus and learn new things from him. One of the men from the synagogue came up and bowed down to Jesus, and he said, "Jesus, come, please help. My daughter is sick. She's dying." Jesus agreed to go with the man, so they started out towards his house. Along the way, they had an experience where a woman came up to Jesus and touched his cloth. Now, she was a woman who was suffering. She'd been bleeding on and off for over 12 years, and all of the doctors had been unable to help her. She'd spent loads of money, and nothing worked. So she thought, if I just touch Jesus, even just his cloak, I'll be healed. And that's exactly what happened. But Jesus knew something had gone on, so he looked around and said, "Who's touched me?" His disciples thought that was an odd question because there was people everywhere. And they said, "Jesus, look at the crowd around. It could have been anyone." But Jesus didn't move. He kept looking around to see who touched him. Eventually, the woman came forward and she said, "I did." She thought Jesus was going to be really mad at her. But he looked at her and said, "Daughter of Israel, your faith has made you well." And she was so happy because she was healed now. She could be part of the community again. While they were walking along, someone rushed up to Jairus and said, "Don't worry about going to find your daughter anymore. Don't worry the teacher. She's dead." Jairus was beside himself. He couldn't believe what had happened. But Jesus said, "Don't worry. We'll get there. It'll be fine." So the two of them continued walking with their friends behind them. And when they got to the house, they saw Jairus' daughter, who was asleep. Everybody thought she was dead, and Jairus was beside himself. All sorts of people were jeering and saying, "Jesus can't do anything now." But Jesus sent them all out of the room. The only ones allowed in were Jairus and his wife and some of Jesus' closest friends. And he looked down at the little girl and he said, "Talitha kum," which means, "Little girl, get up." And she did. And everybody was overjoyed. Her father was so happy. And then Jesus said, "Take care of this little one. Feed her. She's hungry." And they all spent time eating and rejoicing that their daughter was alive.